Miami has now lost 3 straight, and after giving up 60 points to Luka Doncic, is their defense falling apart at just the wrong time?
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Locked On Heat is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, we're going to discuss Erik Spoelstra potentially revealing his preferred starting lineup when everybody's healthy. We're also going to talk about whether the Heat need to get their stars more involved and this defensive issue that is coming up maybe at the worst possible time. Well, let's start with the game. Recording this Thursday night after the Heat's lost to the Lakers, 134 to 126, the final score. And David, there's a ton to get into in this game, but ultimately Luka Doncic was the difference in this game. Everything else was played relatively close, except for Luka scoring 60 points. What a game from Luka. Every time it felt like the Heat were cutting back into this. The Heat led by 13 early in this game. The Lakers rallied back. Luka Doncic took this game over. And it just, in the fourth quarter, every time the Heat got it to within 4, within 6, whatever it was, it just felt like Luka hit some big, crazy shot or got to the free throw line and just kept stiff-arming the Miami Heat. And ultimately, the Lakers get the win. Just an absolute bananas, bonkers, impressive game from Luka Doncic. Being here at the arena, David, I mean, it was just, it was pretty crazy to watch him do it. This is a Lakers team that got into Miami on the second night of back-to-back after playing in Houston last night, a tough game in Houston that came down to the very end in that one. They get into Miami at 5 a.m. Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves are all listed as questionable going into this game. They all end up suiting up for this game, and it's pretty amazing to see Luka Doncic put on that performance.
Yeah, he was brutal. I think the third quarter was also really defining for him. He was equally bad in the third and the fourth, but as far as the third quarter performance from him, that's really where I think it stood out because it almost seemed like he crushed Miami's spirits. Again, Miami had been competitive to that point, and then Luka was just hitting these ridiculous shots. He did finish with 19 points in the quarter. He was 4 of 7 from three-point range, 6 of 10 overall, also hit 3 free throws. So he was really, really good. And it just seemed like that was the really defining point for me because at that point, it almost looked like Miami just completely unraveled. They couldn't defend him, and it almost felt like they just gave up at that point. And to your point, they did wind up coming back and trying to make it somewhat competitive. They did close the gap, but in the fourth, eventually it was him hitting these big shots after big shots, and he was just incredible. Again, a 60-point performance, and he just did it by breaking Miami's spirit every chance he got. It was really an incredible performance from him. He scored 20 in the fourth, too. So it's, pick your poison. Either one of those quarters was just really defining in terms of being able to just crush Miami and really put his imprint on the game. He just didn't allow Miami to ever wind up getting too close, and he wound up carrying the team completely. Incredible performance.
The Heat really couldn't do anything defensively either, right? Like, Luka's going to get into his pick and roll. He got switched on to Bam a bunch of times. Bam tried his best, but when Luka's making step backs like he was tonight, there's nothing you can really do. Luka from three-point range was 9 of 17. You take that away from the Lakers, who shot 14 of 32 from three-point range. This is why I'm saying Luka was the difference, right? Like, the Heat shot 51% overall. The Lakers shot 53% overall. The Heat scored 70 points in the paint. The rebounding battle was basically a tie. Both teams committed 11 turnovers. Like, everything was even, except for the Luka Doncic part. Even from three-point range, nobody else on the Lakers could make a three. It was only Luka that was efficient from distance. He goes 9 of 17 from three-point range. If not for Luka, the Heat win this game. But that's what really stood out to me was obviously you could just look at the box score and be like, wow, 60 points. Yeah, obviously, Wes, that's why the Lakers won the game. They had a player score 60. But it's just it's such a difference when you see somebody like Luka get whatever he wants all the time. The Heat have no defense for it. Even when they do defend him well, he just makes these crazy shots or draws a foul and gets to the free throw line. And the Heat just didn't have that. There was a period in the fourth quarter where Bam, at the early part of the fourth quarter, said, okay, it's time to put the team on my back. And to his credit, like, Bam had a good game, 28 points on 9 of 19 shooting, and really took it to DeAndre Ayton early in that fourth quarter, and it just felt like Bam was trying to will his team to win. But at the end of the day, like, Bam's not Luka, right? Like, Luka's able to hit these crazy step back threes on the sideline, from the corner, wherever it is. He doesn't need any space to get these shots off, and his touch is just incredible. And that was like, that's it, man. Like, when you have Luka, like a guy playing at an MVP level, there's only so much you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, Luka was incredible. And the way he was able to do it, not just the shooting, but also getting to the rim, and then the ticky tack fouls. And look, I know neither you or I want to dwell too much in the free throw shooting and the foul baiting and everything else like that, but it was a little egregious. And this is the Lakers; they're going to get the calls; they always do. But LeBron James didn't take a single free throw. However, or I'm sorry, he took 5 free throws. It wasn't like it was this huge disparity, but Marcus Smart getting 9 free throws, Luka getting 19 free throws, 10 free throws for Austin Reeves. Like, they took 45 in total to just 22 for Miami. And I guess you could say maybe they were a little bit more aggressive. I don't think that's the case. Like,
No.
neither Bam took 10 free throws. Uh, Tyler only took 1 free throw. Norman Powell took 5. Like, I mean, it wasn't very even as far as the officiating is concerned. So, you don't want to dwell on it too much, but when it creates that extra advantage, and when they're able to get the shots that Luka was able to hit tonight, it does put Miami in a really tough spot where they can't really do much. They can't defend too closely because they're going to be able to draw these fouls. They can't give up too much space because he's able to shoot from 30 feet out with ease. And there's not much else that you can do at that point. So you kind of just wind up being reserved into just saying, you know what, we're going to allow him to get his. And that's something that we talked about in our preview of the Lakers game. We said, well, maybe that's their strategy, just let Luka get his. Well, they let Luka get his, but he also took his too. Like, he took more than what they were willing to give. Like, if they had held him to say even a reasonable quote unquote 40, like, that would have been a little bit better, or at least given them a chance.
They would have won the game probably.
Well, if that's the case, yeah. Given how everybody else was struggling offensively, like, I mean, LeBron was a good, 19 points from him.
Well,
but I don't know.
I want to go back to the part where you say, like, let Luka be Luka, right? Just kind of let him do it and don't let anybody else cook you. And that was sort of the strategy here. For Heat fans wondering, like, why weren't they doubling Luka? Because they really weren't for most of this game. Why not double Luka? The Lakers have so many weapons between Luka and Reeves and LeBron and all of them are so good with the ball and so smart and so quick making decisions that every time Luka has the ball high up on the floor, what JJ Redick and the Lakers are going to do is they always kind of have Austin Reeves spacing next to him. And so if you're going to double Luka, the guy that comes off is the guy on is supposed to be the guy on Reeves, right? He's supposed to come over. But if you let Reeves be open, he's going to hit that three. You can't allow that to happen. So it's really good coaching on the Lakers' part of saying, like, okay, wherever Luka's on the floor, we're going to make sure that there's a shooting threat near him, so that if you're going to help off of somebody, you're helping off of a shooting threat more likely than not, and that's going to get you in trouble. There was a point in the fourth quarter where they did double Luka early in the clock, and the ball ended up in LeBron's hands, and LeBron ended up with a mismatch against Tyler Herro in the post. It was like a 4-point game, I think, in the fourth quarter. They sent an aggressive double Luka's way, and then ping, ping, ping. LeBron ends up with Herro on his back, and he gets an easy layup, and I'm just like, well, then what are you going to do? If, like, that's going to be the result, like, what are you going to do against that team? This Lakers team is playing really well, and I give a lot of credit to them. I give more credit to the Lakers in this game than blame on the Heat, frankly, for this loss. In terms of the turning point, it wasn't necessarily that for me. You and I were texting during the game. To me, the turning point of this game was about 4.5 minutes to go. Davion Mitchell hits a corner three, makes it 114-110. So a 4-point game, just over 4 minutes left. Then Luka hits a runner and draws a foul on Norm Powell. Maybe been the tackiest of the ticky-tack calls in this one. Draws that foul on Norm Powell. Then Larson, on the other end, loses the ball on a drive. Luka gets the putback after LeBron misses a layup. What was a 4-point game turns into a 9-point game with 30 seconds left. Tyler Herro tried his best to will this team back in, made back-to-back shots, got the Heat back into this game a little bit, but it was a little too late at that point. With about 4 minutes to go, down 4, they just couldn't get stops on consecutive possessions, and what was a 4-point game ended up being a 9-point game within 30 seconds, 3.5 minutes basically left in the game, and it was too much for them to overcome at that point. They couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I agree with you. I think kudos to the Lakers and their offense being as good as it was. I mean, Miami did everything they could offensively. It wasn't even a bad game for them offensively. I don't even know that it was necessarily a bad game for them defensively either. They did a pretty admirable job of limiting everybody else in this Lakers roster. But when you get that kind of singular performance from a guy like Luka, who bends the defense as much as he does and does make so much of their secondary actions so impossible because he is such a good passer and playmaker, as well as being an elite scorer, one of the best. There's not much else you can do, but you kind of just have to watch and accept what the reality playing out before you and try your best to keep up, which Miami unfortunately could not do.
We got a lot more to get to in this game, including did Eric Spoelstra reveal his ideal starting lineup when this team is fully healthy with the starting lineup decision that he made tonight? We're going to talk about that next and a lot more here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, well, that part hasn't always been so simple. But that's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast, without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. You just pull up the Game Time app, you pick an upcoming NBA game, and you get tickets locked in within minutes. A friend of mine wanted to go see the Lakers, used the Game Time app, was able to get tickets in a few minutes. He loved the all-in pricing right up front. No surprise fees, so you know exactly what you're paying at checkout. And you can get a view from your seat feature. It's really convenient. So if you've never been to the arena before or you're going to a venue you've never been to, you know exactly what the stage or the court or the field is going to look like. It's so convenient. And you get great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at really solid prices. Everything is quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON. You get $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You always knew the game, but you've never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk that is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Locked On Heat. Join the Everydayer Club now with the code MARCH and get your first month for free if you sign up before the NCAA tournament tips off this Thursday or right now. After it just did tip off, you can compete against us in our men's and women's bracket pools on Discord. The winner in each will get $100 in Locked On merch. The rest of us can commiserate in the members-only Discord chats as our brackets blow up and as this Heat losing streak continues now at 3 games. Also, as a member of the club, that you get an ad-free version of the show. And again, it's all for free for a month with the code MARCH. Just go to lockedonheat.supercast.com. Let's talk about the starting lineup, David, because I do think it's really interesting. They moved Norm Powell to the bench, and it's something that you and I had discussed on this show a few different times about what the Heat were ultimately going to do when healthy in terms of their starting five. Now, they're not healthy yet. Andrew Wiggins still not available. But I do look at the starting five, and I wonder if Eric Spoelstra revealed his plans for what the starting lineup will be when this team is healthy. The Heat go with the starting lineup in this game of Davion Mitchell, Tyler Herro, Pelle Larsson, Simone Fontecchio, and Bam Adebayo, which brought Norm Powell and Kel'el Ware off the bench. I think it's really easy to just put Wiggins in that Fontecchio spot. And I do think it was also very instructive that they had Fontecchio guarding LeBron to start this game, which would have probably been Wiggins' assignment. Maybe you move Wiggins onto Luka. But either way, I think you just put Wiggins in that Fontecchio spot, and that might be how Spo is leaning in terms of his starting five. It splits up Herro and Powell to start these games. Ware comes off the bench behind Bam. We also got plenty of minutes with both Herro and Powell together, with Bam and Ware together in this game, which I quite liked. I thought that the rotations were really sound in this game from Eric Spoelstra. What do you think? Do you think that we've kind of seen what the starting five is going to be when this team is healthy?
Yeah, I mean, it was an odd choice to bring Fontecchio in there. We thought maybe we had talked about in the preview that maybe Miami might try to create a little advantage by putting Ware out there to pick up Aiton and have Bam guard LeBron, but that wasn't the case. Given that we saw the two big lineup several times throughout the game, maybe it might have been a better choice because Fontecchio really wasn't much of an edge for Miami at all. He gave up a lot defensively, didn't do much offensively, so he was really a non-factor. But I think if you do use that logic as well, this is a template for something. Yeah, it makes absolute sense. Like I think we've talked about it before. Pella, a player that you can't really take out of the starting lineup right now, but Fontecchio is not really legitimately a starter.
Yeah.
So I think it makes a lot of sense to just have that place. He's holding that place for Andrew Wiggins upon his return,
A
and
little
I
Luke
guess
Babbitt vibes, huh?
yeah, and only 19 total minutes, but
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that Norm is willing to accept the not the motion, but the change anyway. And maybe it's just being sold as well. You know what? You're just working your way from injury, and we talked about that he was struggling. He's still struggling. His 3-point shot in particular is still a little off, but he did have a solid overall game. Maybe not the best production from him, and you could certainly have used more in 33 minutes of play. But I am surprised, however, that he's accepted it as well as he has. But you know what? That's just Norm is familiar with this role, and I think he understands it. Given the fact that he's an all-star and he's still able to be productive, whether he's a starter or a reserve, it's not going to affect any impending free agency or anything like that.
You hope not for him.
Yeah,
He did talk about it after the game. He was asked about it, and he said he believes that he's a starter in this league, but he's willing to do whatever is best for the team right now. And the Heat are treating every game right now like it's a playoff game because they kind of are, right? Like these
yeah, they
are
have
all.
to.
It's the difference between maybe being in the play-in tournament versus not having to play at all that week, and just being a solid playoff team. So look, Eric Spoelstra talked to Norm Powell about the change, right? That he's not going to be a starter right now. Powell was asked whether or not this is a long-term thing or if this is more of a game-to-game thing. Powell didn't say. He was kind of coy. I think he was trying to be careful with how he answered the question. My
Yeah,
sense is that this is a for now thing.
yeah.
Like it won't be a game-to-game thing where like next game Powell's going to be starting all of a sudden. I do think that this is at least the plan for now. And I say for now just because we know if Eric Spoelstra feels like he needs to make a change, he'll make a change. But I do think that the plan right now is for this to be what the plan is, right? Bring Powell off the bench, split up him and Herro to start these games, and you go from there. So we'll see what happens. The other big problem
Any,
that we're go ahead.
no, I was just saying, any update from Spo or anybody on Andrew Wiggins?
He's making progress.
Oh, okay. So it
Also,
could be,
Jaime was
yeah,
not in this game, and it felt like they really missed him, especially
they
with
did.
that bench production.
Yeah.
And he's day to day, so I do not expect to ever see Jaime or Wiggins ever again. Basically, given
They played their
and
last
being
game in Miami.
they have
Yeah.
played their last game. I mean, they will be injured for the rest of their lives. The other part that we need to talk about here is the defensive slippage.
Oof.
The Heat have given up 121, 136, and 134 points over these last three games, all losses. That's not
Yeah.
a coincidence. Are you seeing anything on that end?
No, I honestly, I think it's the return of Tyler and Norm. I think that's a big part of it, and you hate to pinpoint them in particular, but I think you had a little rhythm going defensively while they were out, and then they come back in the lineup. So I don't think it's a coincidence that the return has kind of marked this slippage in defense. I think again, being that PNR is the bread and butter of most offenses around the league, they're able to exploit these two guys when they're in that, and without Ware in the starting lineup to help compensate for that. And even when he was playing some significant minutes, he hasn't been particularly effective either. I mean, he's been killed a little bit in that regard. So they just don't have the answers. You're kind of rolling with the hope that you can outscore your opponent and try your best to defend them. But again, against a great offensive team like the Lakers, you can see why that's not exactly a good choice because, well, it just doesn't work with the personnel you have. So other than that, I didn't notice anything in particular. I think their PNR coverage was pretty poor in general. And then, when Luka's just dominating the game the way he is, and when the team in general is able to draw fouls the way the Lakers do, it doesn't leave the Heat much opportunity to try and make any kind of defensive switches or anything like that. I think they're going with less zone also than they had. So I think that maybe they could continue to go to that a little bit more often. But other than that, I'm not sure that there was anything else that they could have done, especially against a performance like what we saw from Luka.
Yeah, it doesn't help that 2 of the 3 teams are 2 of the best offenses in the league, right? We're talking about Charlotte and the Lakers. It's just going to be hard to defend those teams no matter what, especially when LaMelo is hitting the shots that he was hitting and Luka is doing what he was doing tonight. Like, I thought the Heat defended pretty well. I even think they defended Luka pretty well. Just Luka was just hitting some of these crazy shots. Now, that's not to say that they didn't give up a bunch of some open shots. Of course they did. But I even think about when Bam got switched onto Luka. Bam defended it well, but Luka's just hitting step backs, right? And what's a big man supposed to do when Luka's doing that? And so
There was that one play in the fourth quarter too, where Bam got hit with his hand caught in the cookie jar a little bit, but like he was just extending his arm in a way that's pretty normal.
he like
And
nudged
Luka,
his cheek, and that was another ticky tack foul. It's like, really, you're gonna call that
but
one?
Luka's just so smart. He's like,
He
oh,
is.
okay, you're gonna put your hand anywhere in my space. That's it. I'm gonna start
Yep.
driving right away, and he just throws his shoulders back, and it makes it look like he was punched in the jaw or something. So, yeah, you just given what we've seen from LaMelo Ball and now Luka Doncic, you wonder with the Saturday matchup against the Houston Rockets, is KD, who is like basically
Well,
the sum of Houston's
they
offense,
they
as
are
he does
really
against Timberwolves?
they're really starting to miss Andrew Wiggins. Is my maybe biggest takeaway because you're constantly rolling lineups out there with Fontecchio, Herro, Powell, like even like Davion Mitchell and Drew Smith are good defenders, but they're small, right? And so
Yeah,
when they're playing guys like LaMelo or Brandon Miller or Luka Doncic or LeBron, it's going to be a mismatch, right? Just
no
because of
doubt.
the size, you're really missing like 6'8", strong, stout Andrew Wiggins out there right now.
Yeah.
That might be my biggest takeaway. The zone part is a really interesting thing. Maybe that's something that we could dive into the numbers a little bit here. But also, what doesn't help is that the Heat have shot 31, 19, and 31% from 3 in all these games. So now you're getting these long rebounds that are leading into easy transition buckets for the opponent. That's tough too. Like if the Heat are making their 3, you can't be bad defensively and also not making your threes in today's NBA. It's really hard to win games that way, and the Heat are going to have to pick one of these things to fix sooner rather than later. We got a few more things to get to, including whether or not the Heat need to adjust their late game offense. Plus, how important is Andrew Wiggins really? We're going to talk about all that next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I'll be talking to you, companies like yours will have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at indeed.com/podcast. Just go to indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. And then you just apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. You look at odds around your team if they're in season and just make sure that they are, where you're at right now in terms of what you want to make the pick, and you just make it your way. That's how it works. Go safe, go bold. You ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen. Let's go to our questions from the Cookie Gang. You can submit questions and hear yourself on the post-game show by joining the Everydayer Club and joining the All Access tier for $15 a month, or sign up for the yearly subscription and save 17%. Tap the link in the show notes to check it out. William B. writes in again, we had a period where the game slipped away from us. I continue to see multiple possessions where the ball's in everybody else's hands initiating the offense, except for the three All-Stars on the team, meaning Tyler Herro, Norm Powell, and Bam Adebayo. What is the solution here? Let's start with this, David. Did you notice the same thing?
I don't think so. I don't think it was by choice. I think if anything, the Lakers applied defense at just the right point to keep the ball out of their hands. And I don't know if, given how Miami's offense had been, well, not struggling necessarily, but being challenged that way, I don't think they were trying to force anything, especially when they were trying to make up so much ground because of Luka's offensive production. So I don't think it was anything that they were doing necessarily. The Lakers were doing it necessarily on the defensive end to keep Miami or keep their stars with the ball out of their hands. But I think it just was a matter of a play being broken down in a certain way at just the right time and trying to find the best shot opportunity possible to make up that kind of space that the Lakers had created. So I think you could have done a little bit more, maybe to run the actions through Bam. We've talked about that before. It seemed like that would be more effective because I think you have the problem of Tyler and Norm being somewhat duplicative out there on the floor, and you need to play them both because of the offensive boost that they provide. But you're not getting much ball movement with both of them out there at the same time, unfortunately. So if anything, maybe you get the ball out of their hands because of that factor, that you want to be able to try and create the best look possible. And if you can swing the ball to them at just the right time, maybe they'll be able to get the right look. But I don't know that there was anything by design necessarily.
Yeah, I disagree with the premise of this as well. I mean, you look at the fourth quarter, Bam took 6 shots, Tyler took 5, Norm took 4, Davion took 4. I mean, these are the guys who's, you want the ball in these guys' hands, right? Like the All-Stars had the most shots. If anything, I think Davion maybe is marginalized a little bit with Tyler Herro on the court because Tyler's bringing the ball up a lot more. Instead of Davion. Davion's playing a little bit more off ball, and I actually think it should be flipped more often. I'd like to see Tyler off the ball a little bit more. With Davion handling, getting 2 feet in the paint, and then kicking out to Tyler. But taking this question and kind of taking it to that next step, they do need to figure out a way to get their stars to play off of each other a little bit better. It just doesn't really feel like Tyler's making Bam better. It doesn't feel like Bam is making Tyler better. It doesn't feel like Tyler and Norm are making each other better. And maybe that's just because there's no pick and roll to be had in this offense. Maybe the answer is more pick and roll, right? Like, I've kind of been on this. I don't think that the answer here is just no pick and roll. And since Tyler Herro's come back, the first time he came back, they started to tick up in a few more pick and rolls. That's kind of gone away in this latest return for Tyler Herro. They're really doubling down on what this offense is. And part of me wonders, it's like, okay, it doesn't have to be the whole game, but at the end of a half, at the end of the quarter, in crunch time, would it kill you to run a pick and roll every once in a while to just try to get a defense to make a decision and just try to get your best players to play off of each other a little bit more? And that might be where I think the adjustment needs to be made. Getting your stars to just make each other better instead of playing in isolation all the time and try to make, especially when 2 of them, and Tyler and Norm, weren't playing well for most of this game. Tyler Herro eventually found his shot late in this game. Norm Powell had a little bit of a run there later in this game too, but for the most part, they weren't very effective. And I would just wonder if there's ways to make things easier for them.
Are we overthinking this a little bit? Because maybe the game is a completely different tone if Tyler is maybe a little bit more effective early on. Like, he was struggling with his shot. Like, there were totally makeable 3-point shots where he would even get the rebound, numerous attempts maybe from behind the arc, and he just wasn't able to knock it down. Just
I thought he passed up overall. A few open threes too, because he kind of got in his head maybe a little bit. Yeah, perhaps. Maybe, right? I think if Tyler just makes a few more shots early in this game, then maybe this is not an issue. Last one here from Denzel. Do you think Andrew Wiggins should be the one that he turned their attention to? Seems like he's more valuable than Tyler Herro and Norm Powell when he's on the court. I'm not really sure what we mean by this question here in terms of turning their attention to Wiggins. Just us talking about Andrew Wiggins a little bit more. Like I said, I think they're really missing him defensively. Offensively, I don't want to dismiss what Andrew Wiggins brings, right? There's a bottom of the ledger production with Wiggins where he's going to get you 15 to 18 points a night, and they obviously missed that in this one too.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think with him out there, I mean, you certainly have the possibility of getting a long range threat as well as an additional guy who can get to the rim and can use his athleticism offensively. But I think moreover, and you said it a couple of times already, like they're missing what he brings to the floor defensively. Like they need that guy out there because does Luka go off for 60 with Wiggins out there? You can never tell necessarily, but I think you would make things a lot harder having that other versatile defender, a guy that you can switch. So now you're not just able to target the guys like Davion, who's undersized, or a guy like Tyler, who's clearly not a good defender or can't hold that matchup. He cannot handle a guy
Right.
the size and skill level of a Luka Doncic defensively. So if you have Wiggins out there as another option alongside Pella Larson, I think it works a lot better for
Yeah,
Miami.
no question. Wiggins does guard Luka pretty well, also historically. So there's that too. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for tuning in to Locked On Heat. Make sure you subscribe, follow Locked On Heat so you get all of the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Join the Cookie Gang and get Locked On Heat ad-free. Plus, members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonheat.supercast.com to learn more and join the club.